Hello and welcome. My name is Tara, intuitive healer, teacher, and guide specializing in the shadow. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about fear. I have talked about fear before in the past, but I do feel that considering what is happening in the world right now on a collective level, it is a really great time to open up the conversation and dialogue around fear, because it is one of the aspects that is within all of us that we can identify, but we also can be influenced unconsciously. And fear is a very deep embedded difficulty that we all have within ourselves. And if you can think back hundreds of years, our ancestors have lived under fear for many lifetimes. Fear can become very debilitating and it can control us unconsciously. And the whole point of my work is to bring unconscious aspects within to the conscious level so that we can be more aware about how we feel, our actions, our behaviors, what is driving us, what are our motivators, both on an unconscious and conscious level. And the more conscious we are about what is driving our motivations or our behaviors, then the greater ability we will have to face our fears and to acknowledge aspects within our shadow for releasing, for resolving, and for integration. And fear is one of the strongest aspects that we will face. I do feel that underlying a lot of the aspects, difficulties that we face within ourselves is fear. And fear drives a lot of our actions, or can completely immobilize us, can completely prevent us from speaking up, speaking our truth, creating change, moving in a certain direction of self-manifestation. So, as I mentioned, our ancestors, your ancestors, had lived under a lot of fear, fear and control. And this is something that is really being highlighted right now in our society, but it's been around for a long time. Can it become more heightened? Yes, absolutely. I do feel that we are in a time right now where we very well could be pushed to see how far we can go as a society before we actually create the change that we need or that we want and that we desire. But we have to face our fears first. We have to start with ourselves on an individual level and understand our own fears and not be afraid of facing our fears. And fear, there could even be fear of self-development, fear of change, fear of facing our shadow, because it's so uncomfortable and it's so unknown. And if we have spent a lifetime or lifetimes avoiding fear or avoiding getting hurt or dealing with pain or dealing with the worst case scenario, then it can be an easy action to take to avoid fear altogether, to avoid the uncomfortable. But by going into the uncomfortable areas and by facing our fears, we begin to create positive change within ourselves and within the world. And everything is connected. And this is what we're facing right now and what we're feeling. We are feeling everyone's energy on a very unconscious or very deep level. Some is going to be very conscious. Some is going to be very observant and seeing it in front of us or feeling it around us. But some of it also is going to affect us in a very unconscious or very deep level, where we may not necessarily be able to pinpoint it, but it will resonate with us on a very deep level. So how do we change this? How do we change this course of direction that we're on, or this experience that we're in right now? Well, we do the inner work one by one by one. By you showing up and doing your inner work and facing your own fears, you are going to dismantle the fears that reside within the shadow that may have been holding you back or may have been influencing your behavior or creating dense energies within, so you can let it go and you can step more into your light and rise to a greater frequency and alignment with your true authentic self. And the more in alignment you are with your true self, it means that you are stepping into your personal power. You are stepping into your light. You are stepping into your place of meaning, your place of, again, personal power. And when you're in that place, you will influence others in very positive ways. And this is the transformation that we're going through. If you're watching my videos, if you're following this content, you're very well probably on that journey yourself. And so how do we do this in a greater aspect? How do we become more whole and not succumb to fear? Well, it is through facing our shadow. It is through observation and not giving into the fear, not giving into a lot of media, for example, or even stories or information that's going around that could be explaining a lot of the difficulties that we're facing or going to face moving forward. So we're in a very important time right now. And I really want to focus on us individually of how we can make the change starting within here, within ourselves. And when we dissolve the denser energies within, fear is a very big one. When we dissolve the fear that is within, we step more into our light. We show up more. We also can have a positive effect on the collective as well. All right. So also too, when we work on our shadow, when we start to dismantle the layers within, and pertaining to fear especially, then we start to observe more. We start to become more aware of ourselves, of the world, and those around us. And so going through this process of dismantling our shadow, facing our shadow, dismantling these energies within us, the fears, the negativity, the worry, the sadness, the grieving, when we start to feel into this energy and acknowledge it for what it is and face it and see it, then we start to become braver within ourselves to face our fears and to face fears of the unknown and to face fears that may have seemed daunting in the past. Now we get a new perspective on the ability to create positive change. So a lot of the fears that we face that hold us back in life come from our subconscious, come from our deep embedded beliefs within ourselves, the stored traumas, the emotions, but they form an unconscious belief system within ourselves. And so if we believe on a core level that we are not strong enough, that the world is difficult, that we can't succeed, that we can't fall in love, that we can't have the life we want, that we can't heal our body, then that will be the reality that we remain in. If we start to chip away and push ourselves into fear and into these areas that create resistance in our lives, then we start to dismantle those layers within and start to create greater consciousness around ourselves. We also develop greater wisdom. We also develop greater understanding about the world, about people, about us individually and as a collective. And so by facing our fears, starting within here, it is going to set the course for greater change. Because again, as I mentioned, we're all connected, but we also inspire and influence others when we go through this change. When you go through your own change, you will be a different person. You will naturally inspire others because of the change that you are going through. All right. So fear is one of the biggest energies that we can face. And how fear can show up in our lives? Well, it can create anxiety. It can create tension. It can create uncertainty. It can create sadness. It can create anger. It can also hold us back from life. It can hold us back from speaking our voice. It can hold us back from moving forward. So see where fear is showing up within yourself, and the body is a great indicator. So if you have heaviness within your body, you can check in and see what is happening within your life. Is there any fear? Is there any resistance to life? Is there anything blocking you or holding you back? And how can you let it go? Knowing that that fear is coming from a false belief pattern that you have within yourself. It is not real, but it becomes very ingrained within ourselves and really influences our actions and how we think and how we feel about ourselves, about our life, about relationships, etc. So observation is key, and seeing what is within you that might be creating resistance. And as I mentioned earlier, there may be resistance to doing this deeper work, to exploring the shadow, to face fears. It's very, very difficult to go into painful places that we have had buried deep within ourselves, to actually lean into it and see, what am I hiding in there? What am I resisting? What am I avoiding? Am I avoiding my own practice? Is fear preventing me from opening up more and connecting with my light? And it is a process too onto its own, because we are reaching a new level within ourselves or a new experience within ourselves that we may not have ever had before. So it's trusting this process and trusting your ability to reach into your light and to hold the space for others, hold the space for yourself, and to create a better life for yourself, for all. Facing our fears is going to be one of the most crucial aspects that we could be going through right now. So I encourage you to go within, observe what is holding you back, what could be preventing you from moving forward, from creating change, from speaking your truth, from even feeling confident or not succumbing to fear, for you standing in your light and feeling whole and complete within yourself. If there's anything in there that needs to be released, you can let it go. There are many modalities out there. So a lot of us are in this big shift right now, and we can do this together. And the more that you go into yourself, into uncomfortable areas, into uncomfortable aspects, the more confident you're going to be, the more understanding that you will have about your abilities and who you really are. And then you start to arrive to your true authentic self. You become more whole and you dissolve those fears and limitations and wounds that reside within, for you to stand more in your light, for you to align with your true potential. All right, so I hope this offered you some additional guidance. If you are looking for one-on-one help to work through your fears, I do offer one-on-one shadow work. The link is below. Do not hesitate to reach out at any time. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And I'm wishing you all the best at this time and beyond. And I'll be seeing you again very soon. Take care.